Oh, and I gotta get with the new shit. You guys all know the new shit. I'm still trying to catch up on the shit from 2 years ago. I mean, I just figured out Facebook.
Chemical warfare.
So I have like the best of both worlds. Like
We're gonna get started here in a few minutes, guys. We're warmed up with Slayer. Paige Roberts is already liking. And hey, guys, please share. You guys digging the Slayer? More Slayer. All right. Big finish there from Slayer. Chemical Warfare. It's a happy song.
it is a happy song.
You know, it's better. Isn't chemical warfare better than like chemical abuse, like substance abuse, right? No, never mind. I'm off. I think I'm wrong on that.
I think they're both bad.
I think like if I ever started a podcast on current events or politics or something like that, I would do like a complete who does that the thing where they post the intention, is it The Onion? I think it's just a couple of them. They post these hilariously fake things. That's all I would do.
I kind of feel like you just shouldn't do that.
I would just think it would be just Billy Altman, did you see his post?
Which one?
He posted something about, and I think this might have been one of those fake news things about some guy that says we're going to legalize rape. Women just carry condoms just in case.
I blew past that, but yes.
I'm like, Billy.
He's 15. What do you expect?
I know. I remember 15. Do I? Yeah. I wanted to drive, but I couldn't.
I barely.
15 is the best age. Because you don't have any responsibility. You know, like you don't get your parents saying, "Well, if you're gonna drive, you have that car insurance." You don't have to even worry about that. You're just hanging out and partying.
I feel like my parents were okay with me not driving.
Oh, we got the Hawkmeister. What's up?
Ding dong.
What day is this?
Today is Thursday, Thirsty Thursday.
Thursday.
You got some booze?
Yeah, man. I'm pretty kind of sick though, so we're gonna tough this out.
I'm nauseous, so yay.
Sick.
I thought Lily had don't you do your show on Thursdays?
It's from 6 to 8.
Done.
Oh no, shit. Okay.
She's done. Right. She had a what did you go do last Tuesday? You had to go.
I went to see Crowbot and the local band Cult of Conspiracy.
Okay.
And I interviewed them.
Okay. Yeah, she was tied up with something, so we just switched. It's not a big deal. And next week we're gonna be Thursday as well, right?
Are we?
I thought you said there were two weeks where you had to do Thursdays.
No, I think the 10th is fine.
You sure?
Yeah, it's the 17th and 24th. That's not fine.
I thought we were doing the 24th.
Hold on. Give me a...
You said we were going to do Christmas Eve, and I told you to come over after you got done with whatever.
Hold up.
I'm hold.
No, it's the 17th and 31st because the 31st is my birthday, and there's no way I'm going to be able to do that. So we're good on the 10th, and we're good on the 24th.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Marlena Malozic, I cannot talk to you about your car right now. I'm doing a podcast. So I love you and I appreciate the business, but we're not getting into that right now. Okay. Keith, can you turn a light on? Because we cannot see you.
Your dog.
That's a good thing.
Just like, it doesn't have to be a bright light. You don't have to turn a spotlight on your head, but we'd like to be able to just
see what I did? I rearranged this room because I had to take it up in the attic. Now it's all screwed up.
Yeah. All right. If you could, yeah, I can see a little better that way, but you're standing. I know you don't want to stand up. So Keith is going to Keith, while you're getting situated, I'm going to do the intro and get everything going, okay?
All right.
Okay, here we go. Check. Here we go. And I got the music. I got the music in me. All right, so we get that. All right, guys, bear with us. Here we go. We're going to get started right now. In the history of rock and metal, there have been some undeniably amazing partnerships that created some of the most memorable music of all time. And in this week, we're going to pay homage to rock and metal's greatest partnerships. Here we go. You're listening to the Ludini Rock and Roll Circus, changing rock history one podcast at a time. All right, everybody, welcome back. It is the Ludini Rock and Roll Circus. Our website is ludinirockandrollcircus.com. Check back off and more podcasts than you can shake Slayer at.
I would love to shake Slayer.
Shake some Slayer. LudiniRockandRollCircus.com is the website. Shout out to Wolf's Customs. wolfscustoms.online. Why would you play just an ordinary guitar, right? You want to get up on stage, you want to rock out, you want to look cool, got to put on a show. So why get up there with a boring old guitar? Wolf's Customs is custom guitar painting. Chris and I are actually working right now on a design for my one of my guitars. So hopefully in the future here, probably be sometime next year, we'll be showing that to you guys. He does great work, and you can see some samples at wolfscustoms.online. I also want to give a shout out to our partnership with Jam Play. You love the music you hear on the Ludini Rock and Roll Circus. You want to learn to rock out like a lot of the guys you're hearing? Well, you need to go to Jam Play, and you can. There's tons of lessons from total beginners to advanced, intermediate, whatever. I mean, there are guys on there like Steve Stevens. Who wouldn't, Lily? Wouldn't you want to learn to play guitar from somebody like Steve Stevens?
Yes, he's awesome.
Absolutely. So you can go to our link for that is jamplayholiday.lulombardimusic.com. That is jamplayholiday.lulombardimusic.com. The link will be in the notes that we put up there on all the places, so you guys can check it out. Tonight's podcast, we're going to be talking about the greatest partnerships. We're not talking about bands, but like maybe like a producer and a singer that work together, or two guys that a guitar player and a singer and a writer, a songwriter, or a guitar player and a singer that work together, or maybe a bass player and a drummer that just like undeniably blew everybody away, that type of thing. So we try to do 10, but we can never be boxed in, right, Lily?
I do not like being in a box.
Exactly. Okay,
that would be weird.
And we have a special guest host with us tonight. We have the Hawk, Keith the Hawk Hawkins. What's going on, Hawkmeister?
Just living the dream, man. One day at a time.
One day at a time.
That's right.
You should start a television show with Bonnie Franklin.
Wow.
And Mackenzie Phillips.
Wow.
Yeah, she can do blow off Schneider's hammer.
There it is.
There's a band we're trying to find.
Schneider's Hammer.
My band is trying to find a name. Schneider's Hammer.
I like that, actually.
Schneider's Hammer.
There you go.
They're kids, Keith. They would not get it. They'd be like, I don't understand.
No, but they certainly like
you have to go back to the 70s and watch TV, and you'll get it. So, oh, shit. So what have you been doing, man? You been playing at all, or what's going on with you? We're going to catch up with the Hawk for a minute before we get into today's show.
I'm playing a lot, actually. Well, a decent amount. I mean, at least a few times a week. I mean, I play every Friday for I have a 5-hour gig every Friday. Wow. And then Saturdays, I usually rehearse or have some sort of evening gig. Sometimes it's a late nighter, but on Fridays I'm usually done. I start at 3 and I'm done at 8:30. But it's it's rough. It could be rough because there's no breaks really.
True.
Going to the bathroom is kind of a challenge.
Keep a bucket by
you just got to keep like a jug.
Yeah, so it's just one of them things where that's the only downfall of it. I mean, it's a cool club, but you could probably play in front of 5 people, or you can play in front of 100 people. I mean, it's like a tourist trap kind of place, so you have to take the good with the bad.
I got you. Well, we are going to be getting into our topic. It is we're for those of you who are not who following us live. Apologize. We are on a different night. We're going to be doing that this week, but not next week. Correct? Next week we're back to
Tuesday.
We're back to Tuesday next week. So I got to get my crap together faster because now I have less time to put a show together. But that's okay. So. That's what's going on. So that's the confusion. We're going to come back. We're going to get right into the topic today. Keith is, a veritable encyclopedia of music. And what I'm really looking for from you tonight, Keith, is think about during the song these partnerships, and it's very easy to think of the ones that we all think of, and we're not going to get in, I'm not going to say them, but there's the ones that like come to when I ran the post, there was the standard
norms.
ones that come to everybody's mind. But I know you being a musician and especially understanding rhythm sections and stuff like that, there's probably bass player, drummer things out there that are like super important that people don't even realize. So I'm like, think about that. Producers, maybe even managers who worked with bands and those kind of partnerships. I'm open to all ideas here. So we're going to get into it. This is Revolution Highway Renegade on the Ludini Rock and Roll Circus. Sound good, Keith. I can hear you really well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Skipping school, learn to play guitar. I always knew I'd be a rock star. Oh, yeah. Couldn't live with a 9 to 5. I had to play to let my soul fly. Playing every day, living out the blues, trying to make a name, paying my dues. Daddy said, son, you need to find your way. Don't wanna be a renegade. Life ain't easy, is what they always say. My mama said, son, you better kneel and pray. We're going up
I
a renegade.
together.
Riding with the devil and don't ever pay.
There's a little bit of a lull. With him on, though, it's unlikely to run out of shit to talk about.
Got some friends loaded up the van. We headed west into a strange land.
In Rochester.
Soon enough, we were all the rage. We tore it up on every new stage.
Called This Day in Musician.
Oh, yes, we did.
I thought you meant the one that I did.
Playing every day.
I used to sing music like a long time ago, and I couldn't remember.
Paying up dues. Teacher said, boy, you never could behave. Acting out like a renegade.
What I'm thinking about doing after the first of the year is not playing any music at all.
Preacher said, boy, you'll never make it.
Just announcing the songs,
You'll always be
and then go and not playing the songs, and then having my assistant put them in post, because we get too many YouTube and Facebook like muting us and shit like that, and I'm like, oh, you don't know this, but Keith and I have a new song about the drop. We have a new song about the drop. I got it back from Mike Oscar. It's fucking ass. It sounds really good. Hey Keith, I had Mike tweak that a little bit. I had Mike tweak that song a little bit. Snare really cracks now.
Daddy said, son, you need to find a way. Don't wanna be a renegade. Life ain't easy, is what it always say. My mama said, son, you better kneel and pray, or you'll end up a renegade. Riding with the devil that don't ever pay.
Oh, I love that band. That is Revolution Highway, a song called Renegade. It is not the Styx song Renegade, in case you were worried or wondering or confused.
I wasn't worried.
No, it didn't sound, and it doesn't sound. Look, how it comes with a Zeppelin kind of, oh well. It kind of has that sort of oh well kind of thing going on. But cool song, Revolution Highway. You can find them at where's that website? Come on, computer. They are at. Oh, this is a Grooveyards record band. We play a lot of Grooveyard Records bands on here. GrooveYardRecords.com/Revolution Highway. Okay, so let's get into it. We have the Hawkster. I want to take full advantage. He's not your. You seem a little under the weather, so if you got to bug out.
I'm good. I'm good. My throat is kind of just crapped out on me, so I'm trying.
some bourbon.
I'm hanging.
You need get yourself a shot.
I'm drinking vodka right now.
Nice.
No, get some bourbon with
Vodka.
and some tea.
You need some brown.
I don't have any bourbon. I drank this shit.
You know
Well,
what?
that's why.
I was feeling crappy. You know what I drank the other night? I made a hot toddy with sleepy time tea.
Oh.
Okay, and a shot of Knob Creek, and some lemon juice, and one thing of a sweetener, and it was so nice and so relaxing.
My ex-mother-in-law used to make me those.
Right to sleep.
She probably was slowly
like-
killing me.
Yeah, it was beautiful. So Keith, let's start with the Hawkster because we haven't had the Hawkster on in a long time. What do you? We're talking about partnerships. So, what's on your mind? What would you vote for? Now, these are, as always, they're never in any particular order, and we might end up with 20, or that's fine. It's So what's on your? What do you think? And you want to talk about it?
I'll probably regurgitate half the ones that people said already, but there's some obvious ones. The obvious ones would be the Steven Tyler, Joe Perrys of the world, the Lennon and McCartneys of the world. I mean, that's just kind of hard. Page and Plant, Mick and Keith. I mean, as it goes on, there's some heavyweights that are just people that were whatever they did, whatever they touched, just got the job done. They touched and made gold, man. I'll come up with some more rare ones, I guess, in a minute here. But
well, I mean, what can you say about? I mean, Mick and Keith. Where they meet? Like standing on a corner, going to school together.
They went to school together.
Yeah.
And then they met again at a party later as teenagers.
And to this day, I mean, they have a love-hate relationship with each other.
oh yeah, that's you spend enough
that's
time with
everyone.
somebody that happens.
I think that's everyone, though. I think really there's no perfect sort of relationship between anybody who works together.
Yeah, I mean, I could, those are the three most obvious. Page Plant, Jagger, Richards, Perry, Tyler, and while we're talking obvious, do you want to go completely obvious with Lennon and McCartney?
Yeah, they're probably the most. That would be my number one pick if I had to. But we're not numbering them. But that's just one that you can't go wrong with.
Lennon and McCartney, of course, of the Beatles. For the young folks out there that don't,
If nobody knows who that
nobody
is,
knows who that is.
stop. Get
And
off
we
the
should
page.
say Page and Plant, Jimmy Page and Robert Plant of Led Zeppelin, Stairway to Heaven, Black Dog, Rock and Roll, When the Levee Breaks, Kryptonite to all drummers. And of course, Mick Jagger and Keith Richards from the Rolling Stones, Steven Tyler and Joe Perry from Aerosmith. Do you ever think about this? If you just say their names together, you end up with Tyler Perry.
Yeah, I can listen to
Or
rock
Steve
and roll,
Perry.
or I could listen to rock and roll or watch a bad movie. I don't know.
When we say Tyler Perry, we're not talking about what's that character? Medea.
Oh God.
We're not talking about the Medea person. We're talking about the Aerosmith people.
Yeah, you probably should have go ahead and clarify that for young people.
Lily is a huge Aerosmith fan. What do you got on Perry Tyler?
Oh, how did you know it was
Tyler
on here? I have some of the things they've done together. They actually have performed together without the rest of the band on various things. There was like 15 to 20 things on the list. I'm not naming any of them, but they have performed without the rest of Aerosmith before. In 2013, they were recipients of the ASCAP Foundation Founders Award. And
said ass.
I said ass. And inducted into the Songwriters Hall of Fame together. You can't really talk about Steven Tyler without talking about Joe Perry and vice versa. They're always brought up together.
Like, I like Joe Perry's solo records, but it's definitely lacking without. It's definitely lacking without Steven Tyler. And Joe isn't a bad singer. Like, he's a better singer than Keith Richards is.
Well, that's not saying much. But that's fine. They also owned a restaurant together at one point in Massachusetts called Mount Blue. But they sold that, so it's no longer that restaurant.
Yeah.
But they were the Toxic Twins forever because of their drug use on and off the stage. So they're just wonderful.
Okay. Yeah. A really, important, and, they work well on stage together. I mean, that's the thing about the first three that we named here, Paige Plant, Mick and Keith, and Perry and Tyler. They, you know what I'm saying, Keith, you know what I mean? They have that they had that vibe where they're, on stage together, and they can kind of, they're like dual fronting the band almost. You know what I mean?
Yeah, if you would take one of those components away, that's going to be a shit show. Like, there's no one without the other. You could get another guitar player, it's just not the same. He can play the same licks, and he still doesn't have that Joe Perry vibe. You know what I mean? It's one of them things.
I mean, would you go see the Stones without Mick and Keith?
Yeah, they're probably not.
I really don't think so. No.
Yeah.
Smaller bands I can do that with. Bigger bands I can't do that with. It makes no sense.
Well, that's because it's so iconic, right, Keith? Isn't that what you're saying?
Yeah, it would be pointless to even see that. I mean, there's certain lineups can get away with that stuff. I mean, I just don't think that's one you just don't want to mess with. And I'm not even a huge Stones fan. I can take or leave most of their stuff. But if I was to go see them, if Mick or Keith's not there, it's pointless. I don't even want to see it.
It's not the Stones. It's not. I mean, they both had solo stuff, and I am one of those people. I actually like Keith Richards' solo stuff. I think it's cool in a sloppy rock and roll, and he's got Steve Jordan playing drums. So, I mean, what can you say about that?
Yeah, well, you can't. You really can't go wrong there.
Yeah. So, I do have an affinity for that. Keith Richards' solo stuff is very much an acquired taste.
I think Joe Perry's is too.
I have some on my. I have some too. Keith, do you want to dig a little deeper, or you want us to go around a little bit first?
I'm not going to dig super deep, but I'm going to take one, and it's, to me, certain people in this band would get the spotlight, but I think if you took one of them away, it would just not be the same as Queen. And Freddie Mercury got all the attention, but being the greatest male vocalist of all time, that'll do it for you. But if you took one, even John Deacon, as quiet as he was, he wrote a lot of that great shit. And then Brian May and Roger Taylor. I mean, you can't really take anyone out of that equation and have it be the same. So I think that's a rare thing, because most bands have usually two people.
Disposable. There's some people that you can sub in if you. Well, even the Stones, replaced Bill Wyman. Well, they didn't really replace him. Daryl Jones he's not a Stone. He's like a kind of a permanent touring guy.
He's the hired gun, man. He's the hired gun.
Yeah. I mean, wow, man, what a gig though, huh?
He's been in that band how long now?
Years.
Forever.
Yeah.
There's probably people that have listened to that band that think he's been in the band forever. I mean, I don't know any difference. I don't know who Bill Wyman is. They're very younger. You'd have to really dig deep. Bill Wyman hasn't been in that band since when? I mean, so Daryl Jones has been in that band a long time. So it's almost like it's kind of past tense.
I have a couple on my list, but Lily, what do you got? What do you got on yours?
I have Meatloaf and Jim Steinman.
Ah, good one.
They sort of need each other because nobody sings Jim Steinman's song quite like Meatloaf, and the other way around. I'm hearing myself. But they're very opposite. Meatloaf was born in Texas. He was a car park attendant. He was a failed actor. Steinman was born in New York, grew up in a liberal intellectual household. Went to Amherst. But this is like an opposites attract sort of thing, and they worked. I mean, they created Bat Out of Hell, and that is obviously one of,
one
the
of
most
many.
yeah,
That is one of those records
one of the
where
best selling ever. I believe.
it is. But that is one of those records where there is not a bad song.
Right. It's
In
like
fact,
a perfect
I'm
album.
almost positive that every one of those songs made the radio.
I'm pretty sure
It's
you're
kind of
right.
like the Boston album, it's like not all of them might have were like maybe top 40 hits, but they all did get some rotation
At some point.
on radio. And that album is we did a podcast on a retrospective on that album many years ago, and it is absolutely brilliant. And they really do need. Jim Steinman again did a solo album and got on the radio with Rock and Roll Dreams. It's a cool song, but the story goes that was supposed to be the next Meatloaf album,
Oh, okay.
and Meatloaf never showed up.
yeah, I think I think
So
I've
Jim
heard it.
he sang the vocals himself, and he has a kind of he's kind of got like a Keith Richards kind of voice.
Yeah.
He has a kind of warbly kind of cool in its own way, but it's not Meatloaf.
Right.
And while Rock and Roll Dreams is a very cool song, eventually they did get together and they did cut that with Meatloaf. But are you? What do you think of Steinman and the Loaf?
That's probably that's a good one. I wouldn't really thought of that one off the top of my head, but yeah, that's I mean, if you're going to stay in that vibe, I mean, you would definitely have to go with the Elton John, Bernie Taupin sort of, those two have been together since I think Jesus was a baby, and they've always had their relationship. But if you're talking totally the same kind of vibe, though, is the fact where Elton's the entertainer and Bernie's the writer. And it just happens that Elton can do his songs better than anybody else,
Yeah.
and has.
Yeah. Now I'm going to go completely off the rails, and everybody's going to hate me for this, but I'm going to bring up one that is not really,
I saw what you typed there.
and I think that these two guys were a hit machine, in the 80s, especially in the 80s, and that is Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis.
No, well, there you go.
Really just boom, boom, boom. That was like every record, Jimmy Jam, and they had their own sound. You could hear it. Like when you listen to that Janet Jackson record, you were like, Jerry Jam and Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis. Yeah, a little dyslexic there.
What about Jerry Lee Lewis?
Yeah, Jerry Lee Lewis and his 12-year-old wife. Yeah,
yeah.
that was great. So we'll just get off of that, but I wanted to kind of throw that out as a kind of wild card there. What do you got, Lil? We'll go back to you. Give Keith time to get his head together a little bit.
Bob Ezrin and Alice Cooper. I mean, Bob Ezrin did a lot. He was a lot of bands, but I like the Alice Cooper one because basically he produced almost all of Alice Cooper's albums. Love It to Death, Killer, $1 Billion Babies, Welcome to My Nightmare. He even worked with him after his band broke up on all of his solo projects. He composed and mixed Paranormal. Alice Cooper described him as our George Martin, we know he had a huge involvement with the Beatles. And he became one of the biggest acts with help from Ezrin. So,
well, how about this? Ezrin worked with Kiss, Pink
Purple.
Floyd, Alice in Chains, Hanoi Rocks. Remember them?
Yep.
Vince Neil, Fish, Deep Purple, David Gilmour. A lot of
artists, but I just like
a
the
lot of
Alice
artists.
Cooper one.
But that was a partnership, that was really important for sure for Alice's sound. I know Keith is not a big Alice Cooper fan, but he did craft that for him.
It's not about me, Lou. We're just sticking to the topic.
That's okay. Opinions are important. That's what podcasting is all about. Keith, you got another one you want to talk about before we? I might play another song here in a minute, but
I think this guy made the album that changed the musical landscape forever, but he also went on to do other successful things. Is Butch Vig with Nirvana, and Butch Vig pretty much with whatever he touched at times, and the Foo Fighters records and anything he gets his hands on. Butch just kind of puts a spell on it and does good things.
I got to say, I think that is awesome. I did not think of that one. And the Butch Vig Nirvana partnership, man, that record is Jesus. I mean, that I know you're not a grunge fan, but you got to give the devil his due,
No,
man.
I
That
give
record
it
is
their
really.
That's what I'm not even saying that it's the best grunge record. Nirvana's not really even
Yeah, but
on
dude,
my
what
top-
they
top-
did, what they
like,
were able to do.
the way he got them songs to make the best. I mean, whatever Cobain was writing down, man, and putting down on tape, that Butch Vig made that shit.
They
so
basically
good.
created a whole genre.
I agree. They did. They created a genre together, and I have said for a long time that I think a lot of Nevermind is a lot more Butch Vig than we realize. Because Kurt and those guys. I mean, Kurt was a heroined out maniac. You know what I mean? Dave Grohl is a great musician, but he was a kid. So, you got these kids in there, they don't know shit from Shinola. And I think it takes a Butch Vig to kind of like look at that and go like, there's gold here. I got to mine it and dig it out. And this is what we're going to do. And I do not think that they would have done, that record would have come out nearly the way that it did without Butch Vig.
Yeah, you need a producer. You can go on and on and on with producers and artists, but certain producers just capture that thing.
Yeah, we're going to do a show on top 10 producers at some point.
Rick Rubin's another one.
I was going to, on my list is Rick Rubin and Johnny Cash.
But Rick Rubin also has done hip hop. He's done,
yeah,
metal.
but in terms of,
everywhere.
yeah, of course. And I mean, he did Black Sabbath. He did the last Black Sabbath album. But that work he did with Johnny Cash is like, I mean, he found kind of like what we all were kind of like, what we all wanted Johnny Cash to do all along. You know what I mean? Like when he did those records with Johnny Cash, you're going like, yeah, that's what Johnny Cash should fucking sound like. You know what I mean? It shouldn't be this like, sappy produced strings and all this stuff. It should have this kind of like, growl and edge to it and really just bring that. He kind of gets out of the way. Those records are minimal too. It's not like he brings in a big, thing. It's very
stripped down.
Yeah, it's very stripped down, and he really lets that iconic thing that Johnny Cash did, that sort of talk singing, really come through. Like Butch Vig also Rick Rubin also produced Glenn Campbell's last record, and it's not nearly as impressive. It's okay. It's okay. It's all right. You know what I mean? It's a nice salute to Clint Campbell on his way out. He's very ill. And was not going to be able to tour anywhere. He was like forgetting who he was and stuff. And it's okay, but not everything that Rick Rubin did turned to gold. But those two guys they just had a thing. And I mean, all you have to listen to is that, Trent Reznor, that cover of the Trent Reznor song, to just be like that. If anybody wants to know what did Rick Rubin do with Johnny Cash, just play that. I mean,
he's touched, License to Ill. I mean, Blood Sugar Sex Magic. He's had some gigantic records there too.
Right.
That's what I mean. He defies. He doesn't work with just one genre. He'll do whatever, and he makes that.
Yep.
Come alive.
Yeah, he's adventurous in that way. We're going to come back, talk about more rock partnerships in a minute. This is a song that Keith and I worked on, a year or so ago, and we got it out here earlier this year. And we've got another one getting ready to drop pretty soon. We just got it back from Mike Ofka. He did a great job mixing it, so I'm really excited to get it to you guys. But it's not there yet, so we'll get it to you soon. But this is Where Have All the Acid Queens Gone on the Ludini Rock and Roll Circus.
doesn't taste the same these days. How many prankster friends are on that dub and blind? Search the funny papers, tell me, what do you find? Really colors or shades of gray. Tell me where have all the acid queens gone? Tell me where have all the acid queens gone? I wanna know where have all the acid queens gone? Tell me where have all the acid queens gone? Tell me where have all the acid queens gone? Tell me where have all the acid queens gone? I gotta know where have all the acid queens gone? Tell me where are all the acid queens?
We all got to know, where are those acid queens? Where have all the acid queens gone? Lou Lombardi featuring the Hawk himself on drums. Keith the Hawk Hawkins on drums. You all right there, big guy? It sounded kind of rough over there, yo. You're not,
I'm all right, yeah,
you're not going to kill over on us, are you?
We're a little concerned.
There's a lot of phlegm going on here.
I see some flammage.
Were you doing shadow puppets?
I was doing finger exercises.
Oh, okay.
Those of you who get the video portion, you know what we're talking about. We have some audience comments.
We do. Several, actually. Charlie Doyle's watching. He says, "What's up?" But Tracy
Charlie.
Sims is watching. Diane Jones is watching. She loved the Slayer. But we have some people who did pick some things. Sepsis picked Dio and Vivian Campbell.
That was on my list.
Okay, sorry.
That's okay.
Chris Thunderwolf said Steve Vai and Billy Sheehan.
Yeah.
Chris Cornell and Rage. I guess it's Rage Against the Machine.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, Chris Cornell, Tiny Tina with Rage Against the Machine, and created Audio Slave.
Rick Rubin and Russell Simmons, or anyone. Rick Rubin and anyone,
Yeah,
which
we
you
were
did mention.
talking about that earlier.
Sharon and Ozzy is one that Sepsis said as well.
I have an Aussie with somebody else, but go ahead.
That's the whole list right there. But that's more than we normally get on
Yeah,
on this one.
on my list for Ozzy, and some people may disagree with me on this, but I have Zach and Ozzy.
I think they were great together.
I think that No More Tears is amazing. I think the work they continued to do before and after was very, very cool, and I loved Zach's continued influence on Ozzy's music. You can always, even though Ozzy's worked with other people, you still hear that Zach influence, and you hear the Ozzy influence on Zach's music. In fact,
Zach Sabbath.
Zach Sabbath, but even sometimes there's moments during that just went out of my head. What's the name of the band?
Black Label Society.
Black Label Society, where you go, is that Ozzy singing? No, it's Zach. Like, he has that. Now, Ozzy does guest. I can't remember what track. Ozzy does guest on a Black Label Society track, but there are times where they're really like, so those guys have influenced each other, and Zach Wilde would not be what he is. There'd be no Black Label. There'd be none of that without Ozzy. Yeah, I mean, those two guys were really, really came into each other's lives at the right time, and did some very cool stuff. So I got to give hats off to those guys for sure.
Did we have any different ones on Facebook?
We will
Facebook.
check that out in a minute. Keith, you got somebody else you want to mention before we take a look at Facebook?
What's that?
do
You want me to get another one?
you have somebody else you'd like to talk about? You have the floor, my friend.
I was going to go with a little bit of a different kind of vibe, but definitely
Sure.
rock and roll.
Sure.
Trent Reznor and David Fincher. Fincher's movies are friggin' dark and awesome, but without Reznor's music, they just make a perfect pair.
Ah.
Very, very good collaboration between those two, and a nice partnership because he's done it over the several movies now. So you can always tell a Fincher movie because it's got a dark kind of ominous, twisted plot to it, and it also has some very cool music. And usually at the end of the movie, you read the credits, and there's Trent Reznor right there.
That's one. That's a good one, Keith. I didn't think that's what I'm looking for. By the way, is these kind of like ones you don't think about. That's a great one.
Lou, I mean, you're talking to a fucking professional here, Holmes.
I forgot. I'm so not worthy.
When you want some really good information, my brain just shits useless facts and some good facts sometimes.
All right, man. Well, let's not let the shitter get full, okay?
Yeah. Later on, we're going to talk about the entire Japanese invasion of Wake Island, and I'm going to tell you every
I
date.
will welcome.
I'm going to tell you every date and what's going on. Well, useless shit.
What about on Facebook? Brian O'Neill says Gene and Paul, which is like
Obvious.
But here's one, and we talked about this on Facebook, and I think you chimed in as well, Keith. You don't think about this, but this is a partnership that was for just one song, but it became like it exploded. It's like, and everybody knows it, and everybody loves it, and everybody, I think, wish these two people would have done more together, and that is Stevie Nicks and Tom Petty.
Did you know she like hounded him to do that song? She like stalked him out for that, and he finally agreed to it. I don't know.
Yeah, but is that really a partnership? That's why I said it. That's just a collaboration.
Well, I mean,
it's only one time.
She has talked. There's in the documentary about the Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers, the 4-hour Peter Bogdanovich documentary. There is a pretty good section of that devoted to their relationship, and they are close friends. And he apparently has stepped in at different times and helped her with like co-writing and things over time, but that freaking Stop Dragging My Heart Around is
I
just
think that's a legit one.
unbelievable.
I'm not sure about the other guy, but that Tom Petty's a legit one, I think.
I mean, like that is just like I do like the Don Henley. I liked her with Don Henley as well, but I think that's a match made in heaven. I don't understand why they didn't do an entire album together.
Yeah, that's kind of weird.
You know, I mean, their voices work so well. She's like the female Tom Petty, and he's like the male Stevie Nicks.
Yeah,
vocally,
works.
you know, at that time, anyhow. I mean, this was like really like mind blowing. I don't know if I would actually put it on the list. I think Keith, you make a good point. You know, it was a one-time collaboration, but I would maybe put that down as maybe as an honorable mention, or as like, you know, definitely something to consider. What do you? I have some ideas I want to talk about, Lily. Before we get into that, what do you got? You got somebody else you want to mention?
I picked the Van Halen brothers.
Eddie and Alex.
Yeah, Eddie and Alex. They did co-found Van Halen. They worked together for the Twister soundtrack, doing "Respect the Wind," where Alex. What did he play on that? The keyboard, and of course Eddie played guitar. And they were nominated for a Grammy for that together. They didn't win, but they were nominated. So that's sort of a sibling thing that they pretty much have gotten along. Oh, and they were the only two constant members of the band of Van Halen throughout the entire one.
You know what? That's a good point. Those guys are always in Van Halen. It might have something to do with their name is Van Halen.
Legit. But yeah, I think they're good. Those siblings are good together. I also have,
and Eddie's gone and done other stuff.
Yeah.
Keith, can you answer this question? Has Alex gone and ever played with anybody else that you know of? I don't know.
I think it's just outside of Van Halen. It was just that one song for Twister, I think.
I don't know, man. I'd have to look that up myself. That's usually I'm pretty good with on the spot, but I can't really even think. He probably has. You'd probably have to dig around a little bit. He's obviously very loyal.
Yeah,
I mean, nothing else.
Right. I mean, Alex. We've talked about this before. You know, we've had drunken nights where, is Alex Van Halen a good drummer? You know, and Keith does respect Alex as a drummer, and that was one of the things. Was like, you know, while Van Halen's on all these hiatuses, I always thought, like, why doesn't Alex go play with somebody? Because he's a really good frickin' drummer. He can't go play with Sammy Hagar. I know that would be bad. He can't go play with David Lee Roth. That would be bad. But he could go play with somebody. I mean, maybe Eddie's got that stuff locked up. He's like, no.
He'll beat up his brother.
I'll kick your ass. I'm your brother, and I'll kick your ass if you play with anybody else.
That's tough, man.
That's
I don't
the
know.
hard part about playing family.
I have a CD with 3 or 4 tracks of Neil Peart playing with Vertical Horizon, if you remember that band.
Really?
He actually wrote songs for them back in probably their heyday. And he actually played drums on a couple of their songs. Maybe 3 or 4. And he plays, you really can't tell it's him because he's playing really pop pocket, but there's like certain things, the Neil-isms he does that, you know, they're still kind of in there, but he doesn't play as busy.
Well, of course, yeah. I you know, now that you mention that, I think you may have told me that on one of those drunken nights.
Yeah.
You may have mentioned it before, but yeah, that's cool.
I'll have to try to dig it up somewhere. I couldn't even tell you if the songs are like, they're okay tunes. I mean, but it's definitely not Rush's pop. But I think he actually gets writing credit for a lot of it. I mean, but he is a lyrical master, so, you know, there you go.
Right, absolutely. Speaking of brothers, do you have this on your list?
I don't know what you're going to say.
I'm going to say the Robinson brothers.
I do not have that.
Chris and Rich Robinson. Again, guys that have both gone off and tried to do their own things with, like, not bad. It's all right. But when they play together, Black Crowes, for those of you who don't know who the Robinson brothers are, hello. Who were gotten back together, and
We're touring.
Lily got me tickets.
I didn't get them yet. I said we're probably getting VIP. Stop.
Okay. They're coming in August to the Pittsburgh area. But, I mean, those are two guys that kind of like need each other. I think like Eddie and Alex. We were talking about like Alex doesn't really do anything outside. Eddie's done a few things, played on Michael Jackson's record, etc. But those two guys kind of seem to be locked together. And the same way with Chris and Rich Robinson. I have Rich Robinson's solo album. The songs are cool and everything. He's kind of like Keith Richards kind of singer, a little kind of that warbly kind of thing. And if you dig that, you'll like it. But it's definitely not the Black Crowes. You can't go into that going like, oh, we're expecting the Black Crowes, because it's not. But there's something about Chris Robinson's voice and the way he works with his brother.
I do love that.
That's just, you're a Black Crowes fan, Keith?
Yeah, I think they made one of the best rock and roll records ever.
And which one?
Their second album is phenomenal.
Southern Harmony and Musical Companion, I believe, is what that's called.
It is called that, and I think that there's not a bad song on that record. If we're going to talk about masterpiece records, that there's nothing even remote.
I wouldn't change a thing kind of record. Shake Your Moneymaker is solid. For a first record, it's raw,
Yeah, back to the Rick Rubin thing. Rick's all over that shit too. So I mean, it's like, he's all over that stuff.
Yeah, it's stripped down, but yeah, very cool.
Yeah, that's a great record. I think they just matured. I don't know how many years were between the two albums, but that's like night and day. The first album has some some really big radio hits on it, and the second one maybe didn't do as well, like hit-wise, but there is some really mature songwriting growth on that album. That's
an amazing album, and in that record, they expanded their sound. There's Hammond organ, there's horns, they got the background vocalists that just, I mean, and it brings out the kind of gospel thing in places. Remedy, whoa, I get chills just thinking about that song. That's an amazing song. They're
not messing around on that record. It's one of my favorite records. It's
very soulful.
Really amazing record.
Yeah, for sure. We want to hit one or two more before we play one more song and then wrap it up.
Sure.
Lily?
I have another brother.
Another brother.
Another brothers.
Brother from another mother.
So I have the Davies, Ray and Dave from the Kinks. They didn't necessarily get along all the time, which is part of the reason they were sort of banned in the United States, because the whole band liked to fight on stage. But they created "You Really Got Me," and that sort of is an important song in rock and metal. I think some people call it a blueprint song. So I think that's a good pairing right there. And actually, they're going to be touring again soon. They're doing a new album. I don't know if you knew that.
What?
Yep.
Wow.
Oh, I did hear that. Now that you mention it, I did hear that the Kinks were going to do something.
Last year they started an album.
I don't mind. I mean, I think it's cool, but I hope it's good. Like, don't just put out some crap and say, well, we're the Kinks, we can do whatever we want.
I hope
Like,
that's
it's
not
good.
what's going to happen. But I mean, I kind of feel like they take it seriously, not just do what Motley Crue is doing. But that's okay.
Oh, God.
I think it's a crime that Wang Chung's not touring this year, to be honest. Where the hell they been?
I know, the Thompson twins. Come on.
Wow. Everybody's touring this year, it seems.
We're going to come back and wrap things up here. So we're going to play one more band. This is a band I've never played before. This is a band called The Wild. The Wild. Lily, I think you're going to like these guys.
Okay.
I think when I heard this, I think it's Lily music. This is a band called The Wild. This is Playing with Fire and the Ludini Rock and Roll Circus. love the guitar tone, and I love the guy's voice. Just freaking cool. I mean, that is a total Marshall JCM 800 sound. I promise you. That's exactly what that sounds like. That is The Wild. You want to go to thewildrockandroll.com, and that's where you can check them out. Thewildrockandroll.com. We opened the show with Revolution Highway. Go to grooveyardrecords.com/Revolution Highway. And then we played Where Have All the Acid Queens Gone? That's the single I released earlier this year. You can go to LouLombardiMusic.com featuring the amazing Keith the Hawk Hawkins on drums. We're going to, when we wrap up today, we're going to play a little Firewolf. Firewolf is on a hiatus. I wish they would get back together. It's a great band. Another band you'll really like. Very Dio influenced. Okay, so we just talked about great rock partnerships. And is there any ones you guys want to mention before we wrap up today's show? Anything we forgot? Anything you want to? Any glaring omissions? Lily, Keith,
obviously us, but that's all I got.
us, yeah. The Ludini Rock Rolls. Right. Keith, anything you got?
Yeah, I got Donald Fagen and Walter Becker. Better known to you people out there as Steely friggin' Dan.
Yeah, good one.
Walter Becker has passed on, God rest his soul, but Dan still rolls on. But those two pretty much are Steely Dan and always will be.
Hells yeah. Good one. Excellent. I'm going to throw one sort of out that I'm going to throw out the Gallagher brothers. Liam and Noel Gallagher, Oasis. I mean, George Martin loves them. That's good enough for me.
They were great. They just hated each other.
They could not. Yeah, there were two guys like, I mean, they got along worse than the Davies brothers. I mean, and that's saying something.
So sad.
I mean, like the fist fights, right, on stage, and
great.
Refusing to come out and play, and the
One
whole.
finding out he's fired because of a press conference.
I mean, just
that's all Liam. That's because Liam's a dick. This solo stuff's really weak compared to Noel's solo stuff too. Noel was that band; he carried that.
Well, Noel would come out and there's a lot of times there were times you would go see Oasis and there was no Liam.
I saw Noel over the summer. And I thought they were.
Because he has a decent. Now he's got a better voice than Rich Robinson or Keith Richards, so he could carry that band when he would get out. He would sing the songs. And have you ever heard Oasis's version of "Come On Feel the Noise"?
Maybe a while ago.
It's pretty cool, and Noel sings it, and they bring it back more to the Slade kind of vibe.
Cover of a cover.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they don't try to do the Quiet Riot thing at all. They bring it back more to
Slade.
It's a little got it's kind of got more of a 60s
Slade.
garage rock kind of grunge kind of sound. It's very cool. It's a testament to what a great song that really is, because it can be done in different ways and still get over. But yeah, I think they had a solid collaboration, but they didn't have a solid collaboration. It shouldn't even be on the list. I just put it on the list because they are brothers, and it was just
It was a great band.
It was funny to watch them. It was like watching a train wreck.
Yes.
And we were all like, that was a hate MTV and everything. And there was a constant,
Like, what are
Kurt
they gonna
Loder
do?
was constantly updating what was going on with Oasis and how, who punched who and everything. So you young whippersnappers out there, you missed all the fun on that.
They're Irish, yeah.
Yeah.
So that's why.
Well, you know how it is. The Fighting Irish. So anyways, we are going to wrap up for today. Keith, anything you want to announce, talk about before we get out of here we're going to go over and party for a little bit over in the inner circle, but you got anything you want to say before we wrap up?
Fun lot on, happy holidays to everybody, and hopefully I'll see somebody sometime soon.
All right, man.
Anybody's ever in the New Orleans area, look me up.
Look him right up. Under Hawk.
Yeah.
The Hawk of New Orleans.
It's right next to Trouble. In a dictionary.
All right, brother. It's great having you, my man. Lily,
right.
You want to go ahead and announce your stuff?
Well, my show is tonight from 6 to 8, Holics with Lily 6, so check it out every Thursday. I am not going to be on the radar over the weekend, so no shows coming up until next Wednesday, which is Morbid Angel, and then I got Kicks over the next weekend, so that's it.
All right. LudiniRockandRollCircus.com is our website. Check back often. Give a shout out once more to Wolf's LouDiniCustoms.online. Get a custom paint job on your guitar. I promise you will not regret it. If you love great rock and you're thinking, yeah, I'd like to learn to rock myself. I'd like to, get a little rock going on. Maybe I got a guitar I haven't played in a while or whatever. It doesn't matter what level you're at. Jam Play's got you covered. Go to jamplayholiday.loulombardimusic.com. They appreciate your patronage, and we do as well. A couple birthday shout outs before we roll out of here today. Happy birthday, JJ Cale. Happy birthday, Jim Messina. Happy birthday, Johnny Resnick from the Goo Goo Dolls. Little Richard, born this day in 1932. And this is the first for the Loudini Rock and Roll Circus. A happy birthday to a guy born in the 19th century. Believe it or not, Sonny Boy Williamson was born this day in 1899.
Wow.
The Loudini Rock and Roll Circus salutes you. So,
You think you can get him on the show for next week?
That would be a miracle, now wouldn't it?
Yeah, we'd have to be broadcasting from heaven.
How's he looking?
He's a little dry and crusty, from what I hear. All right, guys.
Wow.
Oh, wow. A rim shot. I love it. Guys, had some great bands tonight. We're going to wrap up with a band called Firewolf. You can go to facebook.com/Firewolf, and that's Wolf with a little E at the end. Guys, have a great one. Thanks to the Hawk for being here. Thanks always to Lily V6. Go to LouLombardiRocks.com if you want to continue the party and hear the real dirty jokes. We'll see you guys on the next Loudini Rock and Roll Circus.
Dirty.